Hey, welcome everybody to Expedition Handheld. I'm Adam, and I'm here with somebody that I like hanging out with.
Hey everyone, it's Russ. You may know me from Retro Game Core.
Nice, yeah. And listen, Russ, people have seen the teaser. People have seen the intro where we met in the wilderness. Like somehow, some way, we just found some handhelds sitting there in bushes and in rocks, and we picked them up and we were playing, and we just ran into each other and decided to do a podcast. Right?
Yeah, I mean it's a funny journey. You wouldn't think that within several different miles there wouldn't be any handhelds around, but then there's two guys playing handhelds. Who would have thought of it?
Yeah, so random. I mean, Anyway, that is not how the origin story of this happened. But real quick, the name Expedition Handheld. We want to bring you on an expedition with us. We are kind of at the forefront of looking at new things, testing things out, working with awesome people in the community, and just reporting back on findings. So, yeah, what kind of things are we going to be talking about, Russ?
Well, I think we're kind of going to be doing a combination, right? I mean, you and I have been doing handhelds for so long that it feels like we're a little bit ahead of everybody else in terms of just trying out new stuff. So I think a lot of it will be reporting on things that we've already done before, listener questions, stuff like that. But then also, I mean, the whole reason why we did Expedition in the title name is because we're going on a journey too, right? Like we're going to learn a lot of stuff throughout all of this. And so that's probably the most exciting thing for me too, is that we don't really have a path. We're going to be, taking our machetes out and kind of whipping through a trail, but man, I don't know what we're going to be talking about. Obviously handhelds, but different ways that we can use them and settings and all that other kind of fun stuff.
Well, and I think even though we've seen a lot of maturity in this space, not only in x86 devices, but even going back to Linux-based little handheld. That's kind of where I started reviewing those. Like this, I feel like it's blazing new trails. There's always new form factors coming out. There's always new products from a lot of companies that like to put out a lot of products, and there's always something to talk about. So I think this is, it just feels fun. It feels fun to then catalog it and kind of go through our journey through it. And one of the things that early on we did want to make sure to put out there is that letting people know that this is going to be very experiential. Like obviously we do reviews on our YouTube channels and places like that, but I think something like this lends itself to being able to just talk more about an experience that maybe you weren't able to fit into a video, or maybe you were just like, hey, you know what, I want to talk about something, but it doesn't really fall within a video, so let's just talk about a random experience that I had, something like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's probably the beauty of this too, is that, there are so many new handhelds coming out, especially like on my channel. Like I can't keep up. I have to now decide which ones I will or will not review. That's how many there are. And I love the idea of being like, let's actually talk about some other experiences that we've had, not related to a specific review that we're making. Or maybe, again, like you mentioned, just an additional thing that didn't quite make it into the cut, but something I wanted to discuss at the same time. And so that's probably one of the more exciting things for me in particular, is that this idea of kind of getting a deeper dive and going on a little journey for each of these little handhelds, kind of talking about, stuff from back in the day up until now and what we see in the future. It's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think we will touch on maybe some weekly news topics if there's something big we want to talk about.
Yeah,
we can go deeper in depth into maybe a big feature that we put up and we wanted to give some more background. But yeah, I think it'll be just a lot of like just random chat about stuff we have going on. I mean, we do kind of have like ideas for segments. Let me read some of them off that I have here. Talking about new, recent experience with a device, highlighting an update to like an emulator or a game or something like that. In-depth coverage of new hardware, OS updates. Like there's always something happening over there. Or I mean, at the end of the day, we are using a lot of this to play classic games. Like maybe we talk about a game that we went back and emulated on one of these handhelds that we're like, hey, I kind of want to talk about this game.
Absolutely.
And obviously we can do Q&As, we can do interviews with other friends of the show, all that kind of stuff. So the world's our oyster.
I think I'm most excited about that we discussed something called like what's in your pocket basically. You know, like what are you playing right now? Both the game and then the handheld too. You know, I've got. Someone asked me to count the other day, and I stopped counting at around 200. I was like, okay, like that's how many I have here in the studio, right? But I don't play the same one all the time. I will just go up there and be like, this guy needs a charge. Let me charge this, and then play it, and then remember what it was like to use this, you know. And so that's going to be a really exciting thing for me too, is just kind of being a bit personal about all of this stuff and be like, hey, what's currently in our pockets in terms of the games and the handheld we're playing it on.
I mean, one of my favorite videos that you did recently was talking about a travel vlog. The hey, you know what? I went on a trip and here's what I brought and why and my experiences and all that kind of stuff. So I like that kind of stuff. And then also, like, I don't know about you, but for me, I try to at least cycle out my daily handheld that I'm using just to kind of keep fresh with stuff. To be like there's definitely times where it's like, oh man, I haven't touched a Steam Deck in a couple months. I should probably pick that back up again and just remember how it feels and see if there's any updates or anything new that I haven't been up to date on, which would never warrant a handheld or a video in itself. I mean, maybe if something like big has changed, or you're doing like a, hey, Steam Deck 2 years later or something like that. But like, yeah, it's just kind of stuff that we do in our daily lives that keep us, you know, top of mind.
I think it's important too, because context always changes, you know, with each of these handhelds, where it's like maybe the price changes, or there's something else out there and it makes something feel a little bit more outdated now, you know, like all those things are going to happen all the time. We see it a lot in the retro handheld world, like those ARM-based Linux devices and Android stuff. Those things will go in and out of sale all the time. I just got a notification that, you know, some of my favorite handhelds, the Odin 2 line, are all being discontinued starting today. And so it's one of those things where it's like, you know, it moves so quickly that the context changed. So now we no longer have a product in that particular segment at that price point that I can recommend people to buy. So what are we going to talk about next? And so that's one of those really interesting things too, is context is always changing.
Yeah, for sure. And we want this to be a discussion with you and the community. So, you know, we'll have a way that I'll tell you later to get some official Q&A stuff in, but get in the comments, find us on social media, talk to us, all that kind of stuff. But I guess before we get out of here and cover some last details, I guess maybe for people who don't know us, like who are we? You know, get to know Russ. I want to get to know Russ from Retro Game Core. Who are you?
Yeah, so, I mean, as the title implies, I am Russ from Retro Game Core. So I make YouTube videos about handhelds mostly. Mostly, it's started mostly with just like ARM-based Linux stuff, and then I just branched out once the Steam Deck and everything came out. But I've been doing this full-time now for, 3 years at this point. The channel's been around for about 5. And it's great, you know, just mostly focusing on emulation, but I do play some modern titles as well, especially with all these new handheld PCs and stuff. But that's the focus of my channel. Emulation reviews and then also guides is usually what I cover. What about you? What can you tell us about you, Adam?
I'm just a big fan of Russ. I'm just, you know, been stalking Russ for years and years, and I just needed an excuse to talk to him every week. So I'm the head of video over at PCWorld. I've been there for, almost 11 years now. Worked my way up from just a shooter editor to now kind of managing all the content. Not only that, I do have 2 other podcasts that I co-host on. So one is The Full Nerd, which I've taken over hosting duties from the late great Gordon Maung, a mentor and a friend, where we talk mainly about DIY desktop PC hardware news. I mean, every once in a while we'll talk about laptops or other technologies that are related, but for the most part, it's all hardware. It's all desktop, real fun nitty gritty stuff, because I love building PCs, and especially small form factor ones. And then the other podcast that I have is kind of tangential to this, where last year I felt like there was a huge swell of people moving over to Linux, so I teamed up with a freelancer and another friend, Will Smith, not that Will Smith, but Will Smith from Tested and Foo show days, to talk about our experiences as longtime Windows users learning to use Linux daily, because I mean, I have been rooted in Windows for so long, and I know nothing about Linux other than like installing Bazite, kind of. Right. And so it's been fun to also catalog those adventures over there. So, I feel like I'm always the dumbest one in the room, and I'm just trying to learn new experiences. Except for I'll tell you, I feel like usually I know pretty good amount of handheld kind of stuff, so I don't technically feel the dumbest one in the room. I mean, except for when I'm around you. You obviously are the master of that stuff.
We should talk about we should talk about how we met. So it was 3 CESs ago, right? Like I was walking through some booth, like Asus or MSI.
It was the
or
Asus
something.
booth.
Yeah.
Yes, it was the
And
Asus
so this
booth. I remember.
Guy who's like 10 feet tall walks up to me and goes, "Hey, man, you're Russ, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And it was Adam, and he introduced myself. And I was so like kind of, I don't know, taken aback, like, holy smokes, PCWorld talking to me. They even know who I am, you know? It was super cool,
dude.
So.
Dude, I geeked out. I remember I was just like, I think I was in the middle of getting a briefing, and like, I'm sure the PR person was like, "Wait, where are you going?" And I was like, "I gotta go say hi to Russ." Like, I am a huge fan, and honestly, like, I think what you do is like amazing work. I'd love to see your channel grow. I love the style that you do, and even though you don't have like a background in journalism or anything like that, you kind of share a lot of the same ways and thoughts, and like the way you cover things or not cover things, or just share your ideas feels very much in line with what we do at PCWorld. So honestly, I think it's a great fit to be able to team up with you and do this.
Yeah, it's been a great fit. We've been looking for ways to try to cooperate better for years now at this point. So I'm glad we're finally doing it here with Expedition Handheld.
Yeah. So to get to the details, we're going to be doing a weekly podcast. Like, once again, it's called Expedition Handheld. It's going to actually be hosted on the Full Nerd Network YouTube channel. So if you want to subscribe to the YouTube channel, it'll be, once again, the Full Nerd Network. There's going to be a playlist. It's essentially PCWorld's tech network of podcasts. So we've got the Full Nerd, we've got Dual Boot Diaries, and now we have Expedition Handheld. Yeah. I actually don't think we've settled on a posting date as of yet. I can't remember if we did or not, but
no, not yet.
Maybe Sunday. no, Saturday. No, I can't remember. Monday.
It all works.
No.
Yeah.
Who knows? We'll figure that out later. This is still, episode 0. We got till episode 1 to figure that out.
That's right.
And then there will be an audio version. If you want to listen to us instead, which is completely fine, then we're going to have RSS feeds pointing to all the major podcast players. So, if you would like to see Expedition Handheld in a podcast player and you don't see it there, just let us know, and hopefully we can get posted up on there. So, yeah, I mean, pretty straightforward. It's podcasts going to have segments. We're going to talk about fun stuff. I think the only other major thing is, like, people can get to us and ask questions, like the most official way, because we do want to field a lot of questions, because obviously there's a lot of people trying to buy new stuff. We'll have a link in the description over to the Full Nerd Network Discord, and over there we'll have a channel dedicated to just handhelds, and then further down we'll have a questions channel dedicated to just Expedition Handheld. So it'll be called EH_questions, and put your questions in there, and hopefully we'll be able to bring it up on the show here. We'll be reading the comments in YouTube, all that kind of fun stuff. So I'm excited. This is a journey that I've been waiting for a while. We've actually, I think I initially pitched you on a podcast idea like mid last year. Yeah, I don't remember the exact date, but we
talked about it for a while.
What if we just did a podcast? And now it is. It's here, 2026, the year of the Expedition.
The year of Expedition Handheld. It's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to the viewer questions too. Like, that's going to be awesome. Like, I'm going to have a hard time not going into the Discord server and trying to answer it right then and there, because that's like, that's kind of how we both got into this handheld thing, right? Is we had a lot of questions ourselves and tried to figure this all out. And so we want to help other people on that expedition or journey as they, get a little smarter about which handheld they want to use, what settings, and what other tweaks they can try out.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So look for that. Subscribe everywhere you can. Once you can, give us a thumbs up and share us with your friends. We hope to grow the ranks of this expedition, and we're just the guides on it. So
that's right.
Nice. Well, thank you, Russ, for starting this journey with me. Who knows where it's going to take us? We have no idea.
Super excited. Thanks for having me. This is amazing.
Yeah, and thanks everybody for tuning in, and watch for episode 1 coming up very soon. We'll catch you in that one. Bye
guys.